Ladies and gentlemen, the goal in your life is not to figure out how to be comfortable in your mental prisons, but to realize that you have the keys to set yourself free. Hey everybody, welcome to How to Be Mesmerizing. It's Tim Shurr, and today we have another extraordinary guest with us. Dov Gordon is here from Israel. Dov, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Tim.
Oh, it's an honor to have you on the program today. So we've been talking a lot about personal development and self-help and how to grow your business, and I thought it would be perfect to have you on, Dov, as an expert who can help people to understand how to create more powerful, profitable relationships, how to communicate in a new way that's going to really help you stand out from the crowd. So today's episode is really about strengthening relationships and making more money, especially in an economy that is uncertain. So what would you say, Dov, is the secret to your success?
Start, I guess. There's always another level, always more to do. And I find that sometimes and I think others too, we just don't start. We wait for the conditions to be right. We wait for when we feel ready. And that is us making a mistake when we do that, those of us who do it. So that's my mistake. It's also the source of the success that I have is to get past that and just do things. Do things imperfectly, keep moving forward, and adapt and adjust along the way.
That's really good. You know, you are CEO of ProfitableRelationships.com and a self-subscribed introvert. So how does somebody that is, uncomfortable or nervous, maybe getting out there, making videos, doing a podcast, getting your message out there, if you feel like you're shy, or what if people don't like me? You're saying just start and just do it. How'd you get yourself to do that?
Well, on at least one occasion, probably more, you reach the point where if you don't just do something, it's going to be more painful than anything you'd possibly do, right?
Yes.
So, that's the worst case scenario, but less worst case is suddenly waking up halfway through the day, at the end of the day, realizing I was just reacting to things or not doing much of anything, and I didn't get anything done. And that's not a good feeling. So, that's that. But, I think that a big reason people don't do things, and this was certainly true for me in the past, and kind of we hit this point from time to time, is that we're not clear what we really should be doing. Stephen Covey, years ago, I heard a recording of him saying, he says, in order to say no to all those distractions on the outside, you've got to have a deeper yes burning on the inside. And I realized that the same thing that applies to marketing. It applies to things you do in your business. It applies to whatever it is you're going to go out to do to bring in potential clients and actual clients. Too many of us are overwhelmed. We're running in different directions. We're doing some of this and some of that and some of that. And it's usually because we don't have a deeper yes burning on the inside. So we're unable to say no to all these things that pop up on the outside. And what that looks like in this case, a deeper yes, is that if you have a simple, repeatable marketing and selling system, then that's your yes. Because if hey, if I do A and then I do B and then I do C, that's going to bring me D leads, and E of those will become clients, customers, then I don't have to worry about the fact that so-and-so says I should be doing Facebook ads and become a Facebook ads ninja and do an evergreen funnel. And someone else says I should be writing a new book and rebranding. And someone else says I should start a podcast so I can be like Tim Shurr. And someone else says, everybody says something else. And it's impossible for all of us to be doing anything. But when you go into something and the thought behind your, on your mind is, well, I need to bring in clients. I need to close some deals. All right, I'll do this, but I don't know if it's going to work. It may not work. And when you have that doubt, then you pull back. You move forward a little bit, and then you pull back. You become like that Roomba vacuum cleaner, right? You know, it goes straight until it hits a wall, then it bounces off and keeps going the other direction until it hits a chair, and then bounces off until it hits a desk. And you know, that's what a lot of small business entrepreneurs are doing on a day-to-day basis. Is you know, we try a little bit of Facebook advertising, we try a little bit of social media, Instagram, we try a little bit. We're going in different, you know, LinkedIn connection, you know, cold outreach, or we try some of this and some of that. And we hit the wall, bounce off, hit the share leg, bounce off, and we're going in all these different directions. And we don't feel like we're getting anywhere. We're putting in many hours, working really hard, but it's just not adding up. It's not adding up to that consistent flow of clients. What we need is that simple plan. We need a simple system, a simple, repeatable ABC process. And usually we need somebody who can kind of look over our shoulder and guide us. You know, we all need some kind of coach, some kind of consultant, somebody who's going to help us. Because what happens is that you hit the wall. And last week you were bouncing off. Now we're starting a fresh week. Monday morning, what are you going to do? You hit the wall, and your coach, your mentor looks at what you're doing, because you start to wonder, well, I'm not getting anywhere. You know, is it working? Am I doing the right thing? And he looks at what you're doing and he says, you're doing the right thing, Tim. Just hit the wall again. Hit the wall. Keep hitting the wall. Take a chip out of it. Hit the wall. And so you hit the wall, you take a chip out of it, and you hit the wall. And at some point you start to wonder, okay, I'm doing the right thing, but am I doing it right? I mean, it stopped working. I'm not getting anywhere. Like, you hit something. And then you've got your mentor who looks at what you're doing and says, Tim, you're doing the right thing. You're doing it right. Just make this adjust this. You got to move a little bit to the side over here. Now, keep hitting that wall. Hit the wall, take a chip out of it. And you start doing it now. You feel like you're making progress again. You're back on track. But still, it slows down at some point, and you're getting tired. You start to wonder, it seems to be working for everybody else. It's working for Dov. It's working for Bob and Mark and whoever. But will this ever work for me? Why isn't it working for me? You know, we all have those doubts. And that's where you need your mentor to look over your shoulder and say, Tim, you're doing the right thing. You're doing it right. Just keep hitting that wall. And then one day you hit the wall and the whole wall crumbles. It just crumbles. And or at least a big section of it. And you're brushing the dust off of your shoulders, your nice jacket you got there, brushing yourself off as you walk through, and you look up and you're like, wow, so this is what it was all about. Amazing. It just feels so good. You finally got there. And then as you're congratulating yourself, you're looking around, you look over there, and what you see is another wall. And this one is taller and it's thicker. And that's what life is all about. So yeah, it's a matter of, you got to start, and you got to get some guidance along the way, because we all get in our own heads. We all get in our own ways. That we are our tightest bottleneck. We need to get to a point where you have a simple, repeatable process for accomplishing whatever it is that's important. If it's getting clients, you need the simplest possible process for getting clients for you. And what's right for the other person may not be right for you. I mean, just because someone else says everyone should be doing Facebook ads to an evergreen funnel or whatever it is, does not mean that should be you. Because that approach is probably right for some people. Some people are comfortable putting themselves as a social media celebrity. Most of us do not like that. Most of us do not feel comfortable. We feel like we're being too forced. And anyway, most of our clients tend to come from referrals and relationships. So we're kind of torn though, because there are problems with referrals and relationships. The problem with referrals, of course, is that they're not predictable. How do I make them consistent? You need a system for that, right? And relationships, it takes a lot of time, and you often don't know if it's going to lead to anything. So again, you don't have that deeper yes. So we end up being distracted and running in all these different directions, because we cannot say no to those distractions, all those great ideas, because especially when we're being exhorted, you've got to do this, or if you don't do that, it's not going to work. You do what I did, and then you can have all this that I have too, right? Just be like me. And we're thinking, well, I don't know what else to do, so I'll try that. But it feels awful, and we get stuck because it's not for us. So I guess I just want everyone to know that there are so many ways to succeed, and there's only one way to fail, which is really the opposite of what most of us seem to be wired to think. We seem to be wired to think that there's this one way to succeed. And if Tim would just tell me what it is already, then I would be fine. Or if whoever just, if I just could find out what that way to succeed is, then everything would be fine. And we're hesitant. I don't want to do this because it may not work. I don't want to do that. It may not work, or I might look like an idiot, or I'm going to blow some money. Or it's really just the opposite. There are millions, billions of ways to succeed. There are principles that we need to build on, but there's only one way to fail. And that is if you violate foundational principles. If you don't start, if you don't get guidance along the way, if you think you have to figure it out and do all the work yourself, if you don't uncover, you never end up with a simple offer that somebody really wants, that someone's going to buy. If you try to skip steps beyond what you're ready for, those are all examples of violating just some basic principles. As long as we're consistent with the basic timeless principles, there's unlimited ways to succeed.
I love that. That's excellent. That's really, really good. I was reading a book. I was trying to find it. I have hundreds of books all over the place. I think it was called U Squared. I can't remember the author's name. He was talking.
Price Pritchett.
Yes, that's right. I believe he was giving a. Yes, there it is. Good. You found it.
I got it. Good book.
So I really enjoyed that book. And there's a story about how he was sitting in a room watching the fly. Yep. There's a little fly and he kept bouncing into a screen, trying to get out the window. That's right. Yep. Trying to get out that window and just could not get through the screen. And as hard as he pushed, he kept bouncing off, pushing harder and harder and harder, and just could not get through that screen. And the problem is, no matter how much effort he put into it, no matter how much pain or suffering, or how hard he hustled, how hard he worked, he was never going to get through that screen. And what we need to do sometimes is pull back. And the power of having a coach or a mentor, someone that can look over your shoulder, is to say, hey, you know what? If you just move 10 feet to the left, the door's open. With hardly any effort at all, you can just fly right out into, the great unknown. And, but most of us are like that fly going into the screen over and over again. We're willing to work hard. We're willing to put it out there. We're willing to do whatever it takes. We're willing to take risks. Yet it still feels like, we keep running into this screen and it's never getting anywhere. And so, I love the idea that there are sound principles and that you need to take, and having a coach and educating yourself and upgrading your beliefs so that you believe in you. Those are all foundational principles that are always accurate. But you are right. We got to be aware of getting online, trying to figure out how to become successful, because everybody is an online expert all of a sudden. Everybody wants to be an influencer. The people that we see out there, not everybody wants to be that, but those are the ones you see. And you start to feel like, I've got to learn sales. I've got to learn marketing. I've got to learn web design. I've got to learn podcasting. I've got to learn how to write articles. I got to learn how to set up autoresponders. And it becomes so overwhelming that, it becomes kind of a disaster, or you put so much effort into it and nothing really comes from it. And so how did you develop your simple system because again, it sounds like, oh, here comes another simple system, another, this is the way to do it. So
if you
how
just
is
do
your
what
approach?
I did, you will be so rich and so famous. Okay.
Right. And
I learned it the hard way. School of hard knocks. What would you say?
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I started off about 20 years ago with no real, I started a coaching consulting business without having worked a job ever, without really knowing what I was doing. Other than I felt I had ability. I knew that I could help people in certain ways. I had been reading books on business and personal development since I was 13 and discovered those sections in the library. And, but I had never, I didn't really have hands-on personal experience, but I had heard about this thing called business coaching, and I took a course, and I never bothered to get certified, but because I realized, and anybody who's worried about coach certification, it's usually not what's going to make the difference between you getting clients or not. Usually not. So you need to be able to learn how to market and sell yourself. But I realized that wasn't going to be the thing. What was going to be the thing is I needed skills. I had an early mentor who said to me, he said, Dov, you've got a lot of talent, but you don't have skills. You don't have processes. And it was like it just hit me over the head, because I was thinking, he's right. You know, sometimes someone tells you something that you've sensed, but you didn't know what it was. You couldn't, not even I couldn't put my finger on it. I just had the sense that I was missing something, but that left me even a little. I mean, this is how naive I was, right? I didn't even know what he meant by skills, because to me, a skill was you can play piano, you can, you know, you're a good gardener, you know how to garden. It was physical things. It was you're a carpenter, right? You can, you know how to cut glass or blow glass, right? I mean, these are skills. What did it even mean? And I, as I was going through the coach training, which was good for me at the time, I discovered the big fat binder a number of years later, and I went through it and I thought, wow, I can't believe they got away with teaching this stuff. This is really weak, because I learned so much in the interim and I had so much hands-on experience. But that's a tangent. So, but that helped me. It did help me get started, and I found some networking groups, and I started meeting people, and I got my first few clients, and I spent the first probably 7, maybe 8 years really just pushing boulders up the hill and then watching them roll down again, where I would go out and talk to people, get some clients. I actually started a CEO peer advisory group with where we had CEOs of companies doing between about 10 and 150, $200 million in sales. I do think that one of them had about 250, but it was, I was putting in so much work for so little effort, for so little return rather. So much work, so little return. I was getting some clients. I was getting some projects from that rather. But still it was just way too much. But over the years, I started to figure out what was missing. Started to figure out the skills. I started to learn how to have a sales conversation. I started to learn how to talk about what I do in a way that leads people to connect with it, to realize, oh, you can help me with that. I started to realize what it means to sell expertise, which is hard. It's hard. It's hard to know how to package and present your expertise in a way that people are willing to pay nice size fees for it. It's not as easy as most experts claim it is. It's also not as hard as most of us who are struggling claim it is, right? Because most of that difficulty is between our own two heads. Having said that, I think that like we need, the way I think about it is, I don't really have a pyramid here. Let me just, I won't spend the time pulling it up because I have to go find it. But if you think about it as a pyramid, I could draw it. Let me draw it. I even have markers, I think, somewhere, right? This is some people watch on video and some people listen, right? But yes. You have to think about it on multiple levels, and then the whole thing gets a lot easier. So I'll describe it. At the bottom of the pyramid, at the bottom, you have what and why. You've got to know, what is it that I'm trying to accomplish and why? What am I trying to accomplish and why? And that has to do with, getting clear what you want. Most people are not clear what they want. We wake up in the morning and we're nervous and we're worried and we're concerned and we want to know, well, what is it that I want? We're not thinking about what we want. Instead, we're worried about, what do I think I can have? We're settling for what we think we can have instead of what we want. We have to get clear. What do you want and why do you want it? And we've all heard this 100 times. And I'm so guilty of spending too many years brushing right past it. Yeah, I know what I want. What's next? I'm still stuck. Tell me what to do next, right? So that's the base of the pyramid, what and why. The second level of the pyramid is I need to understand the rules of the game, right? Once I know what I want, if I want to be a cardiac surgeon, I want to be a world-class heart surgeon, what are the rules of the game? Well, when it comes to heart surgery, the rules of the game are going to be human biology. Specifically, you've got to really master the biology of the heart, but you got to know the whole body, right? And you need to understand how hospitals works, how insurance works to some degree, depending on the country and so on. So you need to understand all those things. Those are the rules of the game. In business, especially in the level of business that most of us are in terms of consultants, experts, professional service firms, fortunately, it's a lot simpler, right? And because there are really only 3 questions that you need to help your ideal client answer yes to. Okay. And if you can understand the 3 questions, we'll come back to in a couple of minutes, then those are the rules of the game. You could leverage them And because those questions are reality, let's just say, go through them right now. 3 questions are this. In order for your ideal client to go from total stranger to where they're really happy to hand you money and to get your help, or whatever it is you're selling, they only ask 3 questions. The first question is, should I pay attention to you? Right? Should I pay attention? Is it interesting? And if their brain concludes, yeah, that is interesting, then instantly they have a second question, which is, okay, you got me interested. Can I trust you? So, second question, can I trust you? If their brain concludes, no, they're gone, right? No, not interesting. They're gone. They never even think of the second question. Can I trust you? Yeah. Okay. Now I have a third question. The third question is what you recommend right for me? Is what you recommend right for me? So if at any point they answer yes, they're gone, right? So those are the rules of the game. And I think of that as like an immovable underlying structure in everything we're doing. And when it comes to structure, like gravity, right? You can leverage it or you can break yourself against it. Those are our 2 choices. When it comes to heart surgery, to be a heart surgeon, cardiologist, you're gonna perform a heart surgery. I need to know the underlying structure. That's that human biology, particularly the current state of this person's body, this person's heart. I have a choice. I could, I guess as a heart surgeon, you don't really have a choice. You've got to know it. But one of the things that they're going to do is not only do you have to spend years studying, but you're going to take each patient through a bunch of tests before you cut them open so that you can see, as much as possible, you can understand the current state of this person. Because you've got to understand the underlying structure of a situation in order for you to go in and play big, in order for you to go in and really succeed, to leverage it. So that's the second level that we need to work at. The third level is processes and systems, right? And that is that once you understand the rules of the game, now you need to develop a series of steps to leverage the rules of the game, right? So for example, if you're that heart surgeon, you're going to lay out the steps, the processes of heart surgery. And I don't have a clue what they are, but I'm pretty sure that I couldn't follow them, right? Why not? Because I don't understand the rules of the game in that game. And also I lack the thing at the peak, right? The peak. So again, I haven't written this out because I can't write and think at the same time. There's what and why, right? Then there's rules of the game, the underlying structure of a situation. Then there's the process, right? So and then there's tools and skills. Okay, so you've got your process and the tools and the skills to work that process. So if you want to market and sell your expertise, the rules of the game are, I've got to really understand this idea of how do I lead my ideal clients are asking 3 questions. I understand what that means. And then I need a process that helps me lead them to answer yes, yes, and yes. And then I need the tools to work that process, whatever that might be, and the skills to use those tools properly. And all around, I need mental and emotional toughness. And I just drew a big circle around this pyramid. So if you're just listening, you can easily recreate what I just described. And I think it's clear to everybody that we did not script this. This is riffing on what comes to mind, right? So,
well, this is really good, though. I mean, you are breaking down your process, right? You're helping people to understand that. Yeah, that you've got to understand your customer. You got to understand yourself. You got to understand what you're providing. You got to create clarity at every level on, what is the pain? How can you help it? How can you provide a solution? How can you either get them out of pain or create more pleasure in their life? And then what are the steps that they need to go through? Some people are going to jump right in and they're like, what do you have? What's the best you've got to offer? And that's what we might call your high ticket item. You have other people who don't know you at all or don't understand the process at all. And so you might offer them a free training or a $27 program or something like that, and then move them up what's called a value ladder. So, all right, well, you need this to get started. And then now this is what the next step is. And these are the tools you'll need to get there. And then this is the next step. And here's what you need to get there. And you just kind of take your customer by the hand and guide them through all the steps so that they can get what they want. And, I think a key thing you said too is about the importance of having clarity and building trust. As soon as they don't feel like they can trust you for whatever reason, then they're going to bounce. And so you want to make sure that you're building that trust all the way through.
Yeah. So those steps that you laid out, that is one possible system or process that would be at the third level of the pyramid, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's what and why. There's the underlying structure, the rules, and then there's a process for leveraging those rules. So that's one possible way. Is how can I get their attention and interest, their trust, and then is what you recommend right for me? Well, some people will say start with a low price product, and there is some, obviously there's no one right answer for everybody, but what I really want people to understand is that if you're feeling confused, if you feel like I'm following something, it's because you're probably getting advice without realizing that there are 4 or even 5 levels. The 5th level is really surrounding the pyramid. That's the mental and emotional toughness and strength. And you really need to know where you are geographically on the map. If you're getting advice, where does this advice fit? Because otherwise it all runs together. And we're trying to, but every level is trying to accomplish something else. So that's that. And I'll just say this, that for me personally, a big part of the struggle over the years was looking at what other people were doing and thinking to myself, do I have to do that? Like, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to put myself out as this, put myself up on a pedestal as this like mini celebrity. I'm not going to, I have an Instagram account, but I don't post pictures of myself as some kind of celebrity. That's just not who I am. It doesn't feel right to me. I'm not saying it's wrong for others. My sense is that they're probably about 10% of the population, maybe a little bit less or a little bit more, who the right approach for them is an approach where they're putting themselves out there as some kind of mini celebrity or major celebrity. That's fine for them. It fits their personality. It fits their values. But the vast majority of us, most people are not looking to build a multi-million-dollar business and to scale. A small percentage of people are, but most of us who are really good at something, we've mastered our craft. We're going from talking to so many people over the years, I'm convinced that most people would love to have a good mid to upper 6-figure business and time to spend their money with their families, time to travel, assuming we could travel, time to go places, trying to see the world, to have a balance in their life. I think that's what most people want. And one of the mistakes that we make is that we look around and we say, well, hey, I'm really good at this, at logistics consulting or whatever it might be. And I've got so much to offer here. How do I get clients? I thought it would be easier than this. And usually we did think it would be easier than this. And then we have this long list of experts, everybody coming and saying, gotta do that, gotta do that, gotta do that, gotta do that. And we're not really sure what to do, but we end up on what I call the path of the charismatic guru, following the people who say you got to be posting on Facebook 3 to 5 times a day, or on LinkedIn, or you got to be creating content and you got to become this content marketing machine, or you've got to be doing Facebook ads. Everybody's doing that, pay-per-click and all this. And you got to publish a book. You got to be rebranding yourself. You got to be, the line is endless, endless. The number of potential tactics, endless. And I was reflecting on this years ago, and I'm thinking, this doesn't make any sense. There's no way that I could possibly be good at all this. There's no way that I would need to. But like so many others, I found myself kind of trying to follow that path. And there's always this bungee cord strapped to my back, pulling me back, preventing me from making it really work, because it's like, that's not you, Dov. That's not who you are. And whenever, I came to realize that their dream is not my dream. Their dream is not my dream. If somebody wants to build a larger business with dozens, hundreds, thousands of employees and millions or billions of dollars, that's fine, but it's not what I want. So, if someone wants to put themselves out there as this, like they're on television and so on, great. It's not what I want. So why am I trying to follow? And the answer is because, like Covey said, I didn't know anything else. I didn't have a deeper yes until I kind of discovered it. Slowly but surely, I discovered what worked for me. And I think that it works for so many people like me. And I think there are a lot of them. So what I discovered is that you can become an under the radar leader in your industry. You can become an under the radar leader in your industry, and you use that as a point of leverage to create a consistent flow of ideal clients. And I did this quite by accident, and it took me quite a number of years before I realized what I created and the value of it. And just really recently, in the last year or so, I've started to help other people do it as well. And about 10 years ago, I shifted from, SME, small, medium-sized enterprise companies, and consulting and leading a peer group for their CEOs. I switched to realize, because I'd gotten to the point where, actually more than 10 years, I got to the point where I'd come to understand so much of what I'd been missing. And I realized there are a lot of people like me who are several years or longer behind. I can save them at least a few years of frustration and headache. And apparently, if I'm good at anything, it's suffering through some things and then distilling down the essence of it and sharing it with others. I can't save anybody the general. We're all going to have some difficulties and trials and challenges in life. And no one can do the work for you, but we can certainly help you. Stop bouncing around in the room so that you eventually do break that wall, and then you're out and you've got the next challenge, right? So we all need that. But anybody who's promising to make things easy for you, it could be easier, it could be simpler. But if we're looking for, I want to get there, then when I have that much money, then when I have this, then it'll be fine. It's an illusion, and you'll never get there because you're. And if you do, it'll be worse because you'll be the letdown will be bigger. I worked so hard, and we have to learn that starting right now, wherever I am, right now, where I am, I have whatever I need. I have whatever I need right now. Sure, things can be better. Sure, I want to get further along. But right now I have, and I guess that's really what it's about in terms of learning to love the journey. You've got to learn it's not about that when I get there, then things will be easier. Things will never be easier because even when you master this level, there's always another level. There's that other wall. So I was switching out. I decided I was going to focus on consultants, coaches, experts, small professional service firms, helping them overcome a lot of the challenges that I'd struggled with for my first 7 or 8 years. And I was looking around and thinking, well, I'll do joint venture teleseminars. Zoom wasn't a thing. Skype was terrible, wasn't used for webinars. So, and I looked around, well, where am I going to find people who are direct marketing savvy, who understand the value of cross-promoting each other in a long-term way, respect each other as well as their email list. At the time, you probably remember, it was fashionable for these guru types to talk about, their email list is like their ATM machine, which never really resonated with me. There's a human being behind that email address, and they're there because they have hopes, and they signed up to your email list because they hope that you can actually fill in a piece, something that's missing for them. And if you see them as your ATM machine, there's a grand disconnect over there. That doesn't mean that you don't charge well for whatever, something that's really going to help them fill in those pieces or cross certain gaps or chasms. Great. But I just never liked that. So I was looking for people who had a bit of a different perspective. I ended up forming my own little group. I started with 5 people. We grew to a couple of hundred. And these are colleagues, people who are marketing and selling to similar audiences around the world. And we would support each other. And together we grew. When we got started, there were people who I would have seen as out there on a pedestal way ahead of me. But, after a number of years, some of those people were now members of my group. And it was remarkable. And it got to a point where we had about 200 members. And honestly, about half of them were probably not active. I never did the numbers exactly, but it was about half active, half inactive. And I realized that I'd been running all this for free because I benefited. I benefited a lot. They would promote me. I had tens of thousands of email subscribers over the years. And all my sales, or most of my sales, came through these relationships. And they benefited. I've had members who made a lot more money from this than I did, again, because their dreams and their goals were different. So they're running different types of businesses, and then they were positioned to benefit even more. But that was fine. In other words, that's completely irrelevant.
So the things you're talking about then, right? So let's break that down, right? So you're talking about 1, knowing who your customers are. Mm-hmm. 2, making sure that you are really focused on adding the value, right? And helping them and not seeing them as a paycheck, not seeing them as a credit card or an ATM machine, but really seeing people as human beings who are either suffering or struggling or in need, right? Or that are doing well, and you want to reward them by helping them to become even better at what they're doing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so caring about them in that way. And then and then coming up with other ways. So like you said, some people might say you got to take them up this value ladder from free to, whatever. But there's a lot of different ways. There isn't just one way to be successful. I know some people that only have one offer, and
Yeah,
it's a
that's
coaching
fine.
relationship or a part of a mastermind group. And it's the only offer that they have. And
Hmm.
because they have provided enough value, so that people understand who they are and could like them, buy into it, get some free training, and then build the relationship and the trust to be able to want to move forward in a bigger way. And so I think that that's all very effective. And then, of course, now you're talking about also bringing people together who are like-minded, where you have a community of people that can get your feedback and your advice, and also gain from the feedback from the other people in the community, which is why Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups or masterminds are always appealing, depending on how you run and facilitate the group. Some of them are kind of a waste of time, or just a pitch group, right, where everybody's pitching their ideas, or they're trying to sell something to the other members.
Hmm.
If you get a group, a mastermind group where people really are invested in helping you succeed, and you have that reciprocity where you have a group of givers, not takers, but a group of givers who are like, hey, I want to help with this, and how can I help with this, without concern about the money and what I'm going to get out of it. And, I'm going to do this for you. Now you owe me, with strings attached, because
Hmm.
those relationships don't work out very well in the end. So tell me more about how you've built a community and how you have facilitated this community so that it is a group of givers.
So that group I built over 10 years, I was really clear what I was looking for. Let me just drop something in, and we can see which direction to go, because it's really important. Over the last year and a half or 2 years, I've come to see that what I built was actually quite unique and valuable. And I've been helping other people build similar networks. I call it an alchemy network. And while that first group the network that I built was with colleagues, you can also create a network with ideal clients. And I built a second network called the Under the Radar Leaders Network, which is for consultants who are looking to use this kind of approach. Most experienced consultants realize that their best clients will usually come through referrals and relationships. Maybe somebody met you, was referred. The problem with referrals, of course, is that they are inconsistent. And, so you need to make them consistent. You need a system for that. And the problem with relationships is, let's say maybe you spoke somewhere and someone wanted to meet you afterwards for lunch, or you had a conversation and they're interested in working with you, but the time isn't right? They're not ready yet. 6 months will be ready. Tim, you ever had that situation where they say, hey, Tim, we love what you're doing. It's a great idea. We just got so much on our plate right now. I think that, could you get back to me in 6 months? I think that's when we'll be ready. And you come back to them. And because you're no slacker, at 5 months, you get back to them. And you're kind of thinking, maybe it's too early. I don't know. He said 6 months, but you figure, no, I'm not going to wait. You get back to them and they say, oh, Tim, it's such a pity you didn't get back to me a little earlier. Last month, we started with this other company. And you're thinking, oh, damn, right? So the problem is that how do you avoid that, right? I mean, you could put them onto your email list. You could, right? But the problem, and that's a good thing, obviously with permission. I'm not talking about spamming them. You put them, you say, hey, would you get on my, send some emails. Great. But now it's one-way communication. How will you be alerted when they're having that conversation with somebody else, or when they're almost ready to? Even better.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been helping some clients do now is you build out your own alchemy network. So when somebody says to you, hey, Tim, that's a great idea. 6 months from now, get back to us. You say, hey, Bob, I hear you totally. You can only take on so much at a time. I have another idea, something that we can start right away. And you put in as little or as much time in this as you want, because it's so affordable and the value will be great. I have this network. It's called the whatever network. And it's for people just like you who are interested and focused on this thing, which I know you just told me you were interested in. $1,000 a year, $2,000 a year. Usually I recommend one of those. And, it's a great group, and it's not anybody could join. It's very selective. I curate it. And then we encourage conversation and so on. But you participate as much or as little as you want. So it's never an issue of time. It's there for you when you want it. Why don't we get you in there? And a certain percentage are going to say, yeah, that sounds great, because they do want to work with you. unless they're blowing you off, in which case nothing's going to help. So if they actually do want to work with you, then it's fantastic. Yes. Now they suddenly got this amazing thing. And now the dynamic has totally shifted. Now you can easily get back to Bob and say, hey, Bob, every couple of months, let's get on a quick 10-minute call so I find out what's going on, because I want to make sure the network is moving in a direction that's valuable for you and all the other members. And now you have that two-way conversation. Obviously, there's no perfect system, but what's happening here is that when you create a network like this, whether it's a network of colleagues or a network of ideal clients or recommenders, those are the three options. We don't have time to get into recommenders probably, but whatever it is, it suddenly enables leverage. So if you're not looking to scale to multi-million dollars and so on, and you're not looking to put yourself out as a celebrity type and so on, and if you find that most of your best clients tend to come from referrals and relationships, but you find that there's just too much, it's like too unpredictable or too much work for who knows, maybe nothing. Having your own alchemy network, leading a network like this, gives you that leverage. So instead of just one-to-one kind of pounding the pavement, and instead of scaling in ways that you're not interested in or not ready for, this is like a golden platform. Anything else you want to do on top of this becomes easier. You want to get speaking gigs, and you've got 50, 100, 150 well-placed individuals from your industry in your network. You'll be able to get speaking gigs. You'll get introductions. You'll be referred. You'll get the testimonials. You want to write a book? You'll have an audience of people who are going to buy copies and help you promote it or give it out. Like, you want to do a podcast, podcast fits beautifully with this approach, by the way. Whatever you want to do, it becomes so much easier when you're the leader of your own alchemy network. So let me
break this down for you. So for everybody that's watching and listening then. Okay. So you have this alchemy network where you're able to go from, because when you're offering somebody something or you're showing them an offer, trying to get some kind of contract or agreement or whatever it is, in their mind, you're a salesperson in that moment because you're trying to get them to do something, right? So in that moment, you're a salesperson. Once you create a alchemy group, all of a sudden you become a trusted advisor. Now they're in that, which is why it's important to charge, because if you offer them a free group, they probably, even if they do sign up, which is unlikely, they won't show up because there's no value in it. There's no perceived value, free.
In my experience, and again, I was running a free group for probably 8-9 years. Mm-hmm. We had about, like I said, about half were not active, but about half were active. And some of those were heavy hitters.
If you're able to offer tremendous value, which is the other part of this, because a lot of times these groups are formed and then you're not adding value, or you add value for the first week or two, and then all of a sudden you get busy, and because you're doing Facebook and YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and TikTok posts and everything else, and you're not actually spending the time with your clients or future clients. So
we can go into that. Go on.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, I think that it's, the idea of driving them somewhere where you can transition yourself from someone who's a salesperson to someone who is a trusted advisor, who's connecting you with other trusted advisors in a place where people can understand your pressures without you having to explain it. And, you find your people, you find your community, and you get true value from that, and you build relationships and you connect other people. And then the whole time you're facilitating it, and which puts you right there, in the middle of it. And, it's a very smart way of being able to stay in front of people, have an active dialogue, stay in the loop and know what's going on. And, the only resistance people might get is, oh yeah, well, that'll take a lot of time though, or nobody's going to want to join this group. But you would say differently.
Well, let's deal with that, because those are definitely questions that people have, and they're really non-issues. Okay, it'll take a lot of time. This is essentially me saying, here's how you could start making $50, $100, $200,000 a year in additional revenue, extra income, mostly doing things you're already doing for free. Right? Think about that. If you're already building relationships, you're already having conversations with people, you already have people coming into your sphere, your funnel, your world, whatever you want to call it. And a lot of them are not necessarily turning into revenue, but sometimes you're talking to people who really should, and then they never do because they end up with some other competitor. This is you getting paid for generating referrals and relationships, relationship building, which you're doing for free. Generating referrals will become more consistent. The relationship building will be done in a more leveraged way. And a lot of it is, like I said, it's getting paid for things that you are largely doing for free. So, and not only that, but then like, it's creating a consistent flow of clients. And what I'll show you is like, there are two places in the marketing funnel that this could fit. And this is this I could draw quickly, and I'll describe it for those just listening. But I'm just drawing a simple, funnel, like any other marketing funnel. And we talked about how there are three questions that your ideal client needs to ask, right? That the ideal client is always going to ask. And that is that, should I pay attention? Is it interesting? And then, you got me interested. Can I trust you? And is what you recommend right for me? So think of your funnel as really like the three phases. They come in at the top. They're only, the first question, if they answer no, it's not interesting, they're not even in there. They're gone. Once they're in there, then they want to know, can I trust you? And is what you recommend right for me? So there's really two possible places that you can have an alchemy network. I kind of alluded to this, but I'm going to make it explicit. So you can have an alchemy network at the top of your funnel, right? Where that would be with colleagues. So you have a network of colleagues like I had, and you're promoting each other. I'm introducing Tim to my audience. Tim's introducing me to his audience, because the simple truth is that there are more people in my audience who will never do any business with me, but they're there for a reason. They're looking for something, and they might be looking for Tim. And the same is true for your audience, the other way around. And the same is true for Jim and Bob and whoever. So we're serving our audiences by introducing them to people who might be a better fit to help them get what they want. And then there are those who will work with both of us or buy from both of us. And then there are those who buy from none of us. So really everybody wins. So you can have that there. Now, not everybody's going to understand this, but that's part of what you talked about earlier, like bringing together people who really understand their givers. And I think that that's something that if you understand that yourself, then you will be able to build a network of such people, because you will mirror, or they will mirror your behavior to a large degree. So you can have a network at the top of the funnel that brings people into your world who never heard of you before, or you can have a network in the middle of the funnel, people who you already got their attention and interest. And now they're wondering, well, can I trust you? Are you for real? And is what you recommend right for me? Having them as a network, that's kind of a place where they can come and get and hang out with you, so to speak, until they get to the point where they're ready to answer yes.
So one more, well, I got two more questions for you. So should you have both groups running at the same time, an introductory group who's kind of networking, and then another group where you're spending more time, or does it start to feel redundant?
Well, it's not redundant because it's different people, right? I have two groups running at the same time right now. I wouldn't recommend anybody start with two groups. I don't think that's a good idea, because for most people, there's a learning curve here, as with anything. And that also, by the way, is how much time does it take? Oh, another aspect of that question is how much time. Is like, how soon will I see results? And the answer is immediately, because right now a lot of the people that you're reaching out to trying to have conversations with, they're probably ignoring you, or they're not taking you seriously, because you sound like everybody else. How much time do we have?
We have about 3 minutes.
Okay, so we don't really have that much time to talk about it. But I was talking to a couple of consultants who, one of them, they were working together. They just left the corporate world. They decided to leave because of COVID, and they built a 14,000 person database, and they want to do. One of them was head of digital marketing for a household brand, 10,000 locations, and everybody's heard of them. Mm-hmm. And he thought that if he sends these customized emails to people, then they would respond and be very excited to talk to him, because he used to run digital for this major company. And he discovered that even though he was customizing these emails, it wasn't really working. So it wasn't really accomplishing what he hoped. He wasn't getting the responses, the reactions that he hoped for. So he was, that's why he ended up on the phone talking with me. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, I said, well, read me the email. Tell me what it is. And he read it to me. And sure, he was customizing it, but there's so many people who are customizing their emails that they're not customized. They all sound like all the other customized emails. And then you end up with this dynamic of people sending a combination of kind of mass, somewhat customized emails. And And they sound like, so senior executives are getting 50 of these, probably maybe 100 of these, maybe every day, or certainly in the course of a week. So you don't stand out. You sound like everybody else. Well, when you're approaching them about an alchemy network, it's almost like now you're in a position where you're basically giving them something, even though there's a very modest fee, but you're essentially giving them something that they're not getting anywhere else. So, yeah, and it's the nuances that make the difference. We're running out of time, but I'm happy to share. I do have some additional free training that people can get if that's okay.
Sure. Where can they find that?
At profitablерelationships.com/mesmerize, MESMERIZE, for those who, like me, might misspell it. But that's in your honor, the mesmerizing podcast. So profitablерelationships.com/mesmerize. And that's where they can get some more.
That's awesome, Dov. So everybody check that out, because obviously Dov knows what he's talking about, right? So you have these systems in place. It doesn't matter if you are just starting out or if you're, involved with a $100 million program or product, having a system in place, getting support, breaking it down. I think the value of just getting rid of all the distractions so that you can focus on digging one hole and digging all the way down until you hit oil or strike gold, as opposed to digging a million 1-foot holes, saying, well, there's nothing there. Oh, there's nothing there. That's exhausting, and it's heartbreaking, and it leads to a lot of self-doubt. And so having the idea that you can have a plan that's customized for you, where you can make money. I mean, that's a beautiful tagline as well. Where you can add $100,000 or $200,000 to your income, doing just what you're already doing, not having to work harder, not having to go learn 50 new things and watching another 100 tutorials on how to do this and that. I mean, I think that's where most of my hair fell out, just trying to figure out all of that stuff. And so having a simple place with a simple plan with, one coach who really helps you to, one cook in the kitchen. You got too many cooks in the kitchen, it spoils the meal. And we have too many cooks and too many distractions. So everybody check out profitablerelationships.com/mesmerize. And you can check out some of the free training that Dov has to offer. Dov, thank you so much. Any last thoughts for everybody that's listening today?
Well, let's make the last thought the first thought. Just start. Don't worry about it. Just move forward imperfectly. Yeah.
I mean, that's where it's at. You can't learn, you can't grow. You can't become the person that you were born to be unless you jump out and take an action. And so if you're watching this, you're listening to this, and you've been saying, boy, I need a wake up call. Boy, I wish God would answer my prayers. This could very well be it. So Dov Gordon, thank you so much for being a part of the program and for sharing all your brilliant expertise today. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much, Tim.
Thank you. And so everybody, take what you've learned. This is a thinker episode. So if you are listening to this on the go, in the car, on a walk, you need to go through it again with a piece of paper. If you haven't seen it on YouTube, then go to youtube.com/Shurr, SHURR success, and watch, because Dov will actually be drawing you diagrams and stuff like that. But I would definitely go through and take notes, because there's a lot of information, a lot of golden nuggets that Dov shared with you, and you're going to want to write that down. So take notes and then take action, like he says, apply it, and make your life mesmerizing. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody. Hey, it's Tim. Are you ready to be inspired by the world's greatest motivational speakers? Witness history as the legends of business and personal growth share with you their best strategies for how to be profitable in our new economy. Go to legendsummit.com. That's legendsummit.com. I'll see you there.